when you're up there now, it's you've awakened and then you went and had breakfast at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. And when do you recall the attack beginning? Tell me about that.
All right. I was down below, and I've thought of this a number of times, and I've written about it also. When I was in line to get my breakfast, I'd seen a destroyer heading out to sea, and it got dangerously close to one of the ships. It was moored. I forget which one it was. But anyhow, that sort of, I said, hey, that guy's kind of close. And let it go at that. Nothing happened or nothing like that. But then, when I was down below eating breakfast, the bugler sounded off. When I had finished breakfast, I was ready to come up on outside. The bugler sounded off, and we didn't know what it was. It was unintelligible. The bugler was pretty good. Well, my buddy, a friend of mine named Mills, came down. He was a baker, and he'd been making bread or pies or whatever. His hands were all full of flour. And he came down the ladder. He sees me. He puts both hands on my uniform, which is clean. And I kind of resented it because I had to go on watch, and I didn't want flour all over my uniform. And he says, there's Japs out there, they're bombing the hell out of us, or words to that effect. And that's the first time I knew that we were under attack. And of course, then I went up on top side. And, well, the next 2 hours or 3 hours, we're doing nothing but watching airplanes.
Tell me what you saw. Tell me what happened over the next 3 hours.
Oh, gee. A lot of this stuff is going out of memory, Chris, but I remember going up on the bridge of the Detroit, because we were getting the ship ready to get underway, naturally, because you're under attack. Well, there was a number of things that you had to do. You had to put the instruments out, and you had to see that the compass was working properly, and there was a lot of preparations of that nature. And I was on the wing of the bridge on the port side, putting what they call the thing that they took bearings with. These names are kind of slipping past me. And there's a torpedo plane coming right at the ship from heading toward the port side of the ship, because we were moored starboard side to things they call keys. It's pronounced keys, Quays. They're little ports that you moored the ship next to, but still you couldn't get on land. Ford Island was the nearest land, and it was the air station. Well, anyhow, we're starboard side to these things, and I see this torpedo plane coming right at the port side of the ship, and I see him drop the torpedo, and then he flew over us, and the torpedo hit the water. I said, oh God, we've had it. And I shouted to the people that were on the bridge, hold on, we're going to get hit. But nothing happened. And what had happened later, they found out that the torpedo went under the ship and came up on a pair of civilian pants and a uniform top. That's all he had time to change into. And the skipper was a guy named Lloyd J. Wilsey. And Wilsey used to live here in La Jolla. And we got kind of, through the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association, we got kind of friendly. And in fact, as I interviewed him one time, and he was a Naval Academy class of 1914, something like that. And he was a great guy for a skipper, you know. And in those days, you only spoke to a senior officer when an enlisted man just spoke to a senior officer in the line of duty or something like that. So, anyhow, we're going out of the harbor, and we're doing flank speed, which means everything you've got in this tight harbor. You can imagine a ship doing 30 knots. It's like a guy speeding on the freeway doing 90. And
Wow.
get outside